This is Lucy Getman, Vice President of the Board of Women in Government Relations. Thank you so much for spending your lunch hour with us in order to learn more about WGR 360. For a couple of introductory remarks, let me share with you that we are going to provide you with some direct takeaways today, especially in the form of our job coach, Jan Fox. But we're also going to provide you some information about some December specials and also the long-term benefits of WGR and how it can help you in your career. Another reminder, we are going to be recording this session today. We will also be taking questions throughout the presentation. You have a chat box as part of your hardware, so please feel free to submit questions or comments, and we will stop and pause a couple of times during the presentation. So without further ado, let's find out about WGR 360 and becoming a member in December. Our speakers this afternoon in order are myself, Lucy Getman, Membership Chair and VP of the Board, our amazing Executive Director, Emily Bardash, the amazing and wonderful Laura Ransone, WGR Program Manager, and of course, Jan Fox, Career Coach. Our agenda today is, of course, welcome and introductions, which we have just done. We'll give you an overview of WGR's mission. We'll briefly describe some of the benefits of membership, and all importantly, how you can get involved and make these benefits work for you. We'll also let you know what's new in terms of WGR opportunities. We'll have some questions and answers, and then our big takeaway of the day, Jan Fox's Top 20 Talk Tips. WGR is celebrating its 40th anniversary in 2015. We were founded in 1975 and is without a doubt one of the most respected nonprofit, nonpartisan government relations organizations in the Washington, D.C. area, and is undoubtedly the premier organization for women government relations professionals. We have over 800 members from every aspect of the field, and 7 U.S. Senators and 57 women U.S. representatives are counted among our emeritus members. Our mission is dedicated to advancing and empowering women, providing professional development and growth opportunities through a community that supports women's careers in government relations. And that's the broad continuum of our profession, from lobbying to public affairs to PAC management to consulting to campaign work, from one end of our professional continuum to the other. Our mission is to support and empower you. These are just a few of the benefits from involvement in WGR. You can immediately expand your network to more than 800 government relations professionals. Some of them might be in the same industry that you're in, or you might be able to expand your network into a field that you're less familiar with but would like to grow into. You can develop your professional skills, presentation, negotiating, social media. The options are unlimited. You have access to a unique community of women government relations professionals whose expertise and innovation in the field are very unique. You also get representation and visibility in terms of developing programs, being part of programs, and getting visibility within and amongst other events that WGR sponsors. And of course, there are a wealth of online resources that we'll hear a little more about later, but it includes a career center, mentoring options, et cetera, et cetera. A little deeper dive into our member resources. As a member, you would get a weekly email called our Friday Forecast that tells you what programs and professional development opportunities are coming up in the near future, a description of events that you can register for, and the job board. In addition, WGR has robust social networks on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. online, you can engage in event registration. You can explore our membership directory if you're looking to network with someone in a specific field or at a specific professional level, or you just have a really specific area of expertise you need to access. We mentioned our job board. You can input and update your profile so that other WGR members looking for expertise can find you. You can get involved in sign-ups for interest groups and task forces. You can be featured on the WGR website as a featured member, so that if you're a new member or even a pre-existing member, you can be featured on the WGR website for more professional visibility. WGR has a Toastmasters group that meets regularly to hone and perfect your presentation skills. And WGR gives you access to many media, professional, and other industry partners.
Great, thanks, Lucy. This is Emily Bardash, Executive Director of WGR, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how to get more involved. When people join, they usually a couple months later always come in asking, how do we get more involved, how do we get more involved? And it really is what you put into it, but there are many things that we can do to engage you. The bottom line is attend events. There are many ways to get involved, but that is the best way to start. There are three things I'll kind of discuss just quickly about how you can take the next step of involvement. And the first one is networking. Attend events, introduce yourself, pass out your business card. And then when you head back to the office, make sure you check them out on LinkedIn and link up and say, we met at this WGR event. There are also some online tools, as Lucy mentioned, to stay connected. For example, we have our membership directory where you can search people by name, organization, or by interest group or industry. One of the things, we just launched our new website this year, and one of the things we hope to launch in 2015 is online communities. So kind of a social media, but really only for our members, and engaging people that attend events together, or those people with the speakers, but also by industry, by healthcare, energy, environment. Also, we talked about, for example, this morning we had a event on social media, and someone mentioned that we could have a place where people could collaborate on social media issues. So there are some resources online as well. When you do go to those events, seek out a mentor. We do not have a formal networking program, but it is very organic, and you don't necessarily have to find somebody who is senior in your field. It could be just someone who does what you do, the same thing, that you can share information with and talk about your challenges. And the last thing is leadership. There are different levels of leadership. But we encourage you to get involved in a task force or a committee, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But you can join a committee and have no responsibility, or you could really step in and get more involved and become a co-chair and eventually get on the board. Right now we have 70 leaders involved in WGR with our board of directors, our task force co-chairs, and our committee members. And all that means for you is more resources and more access to information. Next slide. This is just a pyramid of our leadership about how you can kind of work your way up in leadership. Of course, we have, you can join as a member. The next step is to become a committee member, and this is generic across both our task forces and our committees. Really, it just kind of means you want more information in these areas. The next kind of step up is to become a task force or committee chair. And actually, with most of the committees and the task forces, we have 2 to 4 chairs that really do a lot of the work and engage some of the other committee members. Then we have our board of directors, which actually is a voting process, as well as our executive committee. And I left out earlier that anyone can join a task force. But the task force co-chairs are actually put in place by the president, and then the board is voted on, obviously. Next slide. The next slide are our industry task forces. As you can see, we have 10 very diverse task forces, and you can join as many of these as you want. So we have on our website, or you can contact Laura, you can join an interest group of one of these, or you can join a committee, which means you want to get more involved. Most of these task forces have monthly meetings where they're either in person or by conference call, where they do talk about some WGR business and what kind of events they would like to do. But they also talk about what's going on, kind of hot topics in the industry, which our members have found very beneficial. Next slide is a list of our committees. And membership, fundraising, and spring reception. These are committees that we've put in place to help run the association. And this is where you can develop skills that you may not be using in your current job, such as creating a budget, running a meeting, learning how to fundraise. You can develop some skills like that here. We're trying something a little differently this year with our committees. And that is it is by invitation only, and we select the committee members at the beginning of our fiscal year, which is July 1. If you go online, you can sign up to request to join a committee, but the committee members are hand-selected each year to try to give the committee some very strong goals at the beginning of the fiscal year, and it's only a one-year commitment. So if you want to learn a little bit about WGR and learn some skills, this is a great place to join. Most recently, we've had a couple of events. I'm going to ask Lucy, actually, to talk about this event we had in November that was very well received. Lucy?
Certainly. In November, we were able to engage 2 prominent women members of Congress for our Women Leading the Way in Congress event. Representative Kathy McMorris-Rogers is the highest-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives, and Representative Joyce Beatty from the 3rd Congressional District in Ohio was the first woman Democratic leader in her state legislature before coming to Congress in 2012. And the distinguishing feature of both of these members is that they prioritize bipartisan cooperation, busting through gridlock, working together across the aisle on issues of common interest. And we had both of them together at one program for WGR members and guests to get ideas on how to bust through gridlock and address issues of importance. And both of them strongly encouraged and acknowledged the leadership and best practices that WGR members engage in and made themselves available for candid questions, comments, and advice. So it was a really good event.
Thank you, Lucy. Lucy helped pull together that event, and we've just received some great comments about that our members want to see more and more of that. So hopefully you will see more of that. I must also mention our holiday party that we had this last week. We had about 100 members at a townhouse on Capitol Hill, and it's just something that we do annually to thank our members and our sponsors. And every year I leave feeling refreshed and renewed and thinking how lucky I am to be a part of such a group with such dynamic women. I always meet new people at that event, and it's always high energy, fun, and very festive. The next couple of slides, next 3 slides, are just a look at the kind of events that we do within our task forces. And I'll just have you kind of flip through those. We just wanted to give you an idea of what an example of what each task force might do. And if any of these resonate, then you want to join one of these task forces for sure. Awesome. Okay, then what's new? We've got a lot going on with women in government relations. We have, sorry, these are upcoming events. Oh, excellent, good. We added this slide late. We just recently, in this last month, we have confirmed 3 of our biggest events, or 3 of our signature events. And one of them is our Direct Connect to Congress with Judy Schneider. This is one of our most popular events that we do, and a lot of members join for this very reason because you get a big discount if you're a member. But she will talk about House and Senate procedure. If any of you know Judy, you know she is dynamic and fun to listen to, so it's a really fun morning with Judy. We also have our PAX Politics and Grassroots Conference, which will take place at the ASAE Conference Center on November 9th. And our spring reception, which will take place on May 6th, and we're very excited to announce that this event will take place at the Willard this year. It's going to be a big celebration of our 40th anniversary with a very large silent auction. We're also going to have some awards that we thought we were going to be ready to announce, but we're still notifying actually the winners. But it's going to be a great evening. It's going to be at 6 p.m. on the 6th. Next slide, please. Great. So again, what's new? Our 40th anniversary, as well as the spring reception, which we will be doing. You're going to see a lot of things in 2015 where we're celebrating, kind of looking back at some of the stories of some of our previous leaders, but also a look ahead. But we're going to have a micro site on our website kind of dedicating it to our 40 years. It's going to be really, really fun, and we're excited about it. I also mentioned our 2015 awardees, which we will hopefully announce in January. We are also starting to do power dinners again. We used to do them. They were called mentor dinners, and we're getting back to them because they were so well received. But probably once a quarter we'll get a reservation at a fun, often female-owned restaurant in DC and have a table for 10 where we have one or two very senior level women just talk and have a casual discussion about, you know, what they wish they knew, that kind of thing, when they were younger and just getting into the industry. And the last thing is that with our new website, we contacted 5 career coaches that have been good friends of WGR. One of them is Jan Fox, and we have our career coaches listed on the website. You have to log in, but you can, as a WGR member, have one free session with one of our career coaches, and then following that, discounted session. So we really encourage you to take advantage of that. And lastly, Laura's going to talk a little bit about our different membership types, but I want to just let you know about the WGR Empowerment Network, something that we call WEN. These are our corporate or organizational sponsors, and you can see all of our partners here. But this is a way for, if you're interested, for your organization to streamline your partnership with WGR when it's kind of a one-time fee where you can have a certain number of members, access to free events, exposure year-long. And this year is an exciting time to do that just because we will be celebrating our 40th and be having a lot of PR and ads with some of our partners like National Journal and CQ Roll Call. So if you have any questions about that, I'd be more than happy to answer it. We just found out our newest WEN member is SHRM, the Society for Human Resource Management, and they'll start in January. And I'll pass it on to you, Laura.
Laura, this is Lucy. Before you get started, I just want to remind folks on the webinar that after Laura does her presentation, we'll have our first opportunity for Q&A. So you should all have a chat box on your screen. So if you have any questions about what you've heard so far or have any other questions about WGR, please feel free to start entering them now. Thank you, Laura.
Okay. So if you're looking at how to join, the easiest way is to go on our website. And if you go to www.wgr.org, and under membership, if you hover above that, it'll pull up a drop-down menu, and there's a join tab. So if you click that join tab, it gives you all our member categories and fees. And right here, it says join now. So you would just select whichever category your organization would fall into, whether it's private sector, nonprofit, public, associate, and we'll get to those in the next slide as well. And then you click just join now, and it would take you to your cart. You would put the item in your cart, and all you have to do is log into the website. And since you all registered for this webinar, you all have an account with us already. So it's just your email address, and then if you changed your password, it's the password you changed it to. If not, it's the word password with a capital P and the number 1. And once you log in, it'll have you change that to something that you're familiar with. If you ever have any issues with logging in or with if you forget your password or anything, feel free to contact me. It's very easy for me to reset it. So let's look at our membership levels. So we have our private sector membership, which is a fee of $195 with a one-time initiation fee of $50, a nonprofit fee, which we just launched in July, a private sector fee, an associate fee, a vendor supplier fee, a full-time student membership, and our leadership circle. And as Emily noted before, we also have the WGR Empowerment Network, or WIN. So the description is all on our website. So if you're wondering which membership you would fall into, you can look at the descriptions on the website, or feel free to give me a call or email me, and we can figure it out as well. Now in December, we are running some great promotions, so it's a great time to become a member of WGR. If you're a private sector member, we can waive that $50 initiation fee, so your membership would only be $195. If you fall into the nonprofit membership category, we have a new reduced fee of $150, which is a great deal. And finally, if you're in the public sector, which the membership fee for the public sector is only $45, you'll also receive a $20 discount to use towards a future event when you purchase that membership. So when you purchase that membership, I'll shoot you an email with that discount code, and you can use it throughout the year for an event. So now is our time for questions, so I'm going to pass it back to Lucy to field any questions that we have.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Well, actually, I have one question to start with. We had a very interesting members-only event just this morning, and it was another webinar, in fact. And I'm wondering, Emily, Laura, would one of you like to say a word or two about the interesting members-only program we had today?
Absolutely, Lucy, thank you. It was actually an in-person meeting this morning. It was originally supposed to be a webinar, but we thought, having the panel that we did, that we should go in person, and we did. We were at Beekeeper Group, and we had, it was about storytelling and social media, and we had Sarah Santucci lead the discussion, and we had someone from Google, Beekeeper, and then just a consultant friend that actually helped us with our website. And it was a great informative event. We had about 60 people registered to attend, 30 came, which was wonderful on a day like today during the holidays. We learned lots of things. We're actually going to put a recap up on the website. And we also talked about some other things that we might talk about for future free social media events. Someone was bold enough to raise their hand and say social media 101, and I couldn't agree with her more. I know we all kind of need a refresher sometimes. But they also talked about other topics like how to use metrics to define success, and the do's and don'ts for social media, kind of specifically relating to lobbying and government relations. Also, how the mechanics of communicating. So how to reach folks, whether it's through social media, listservs, blogging, how to reach those people that are not engaging. So great panelists, but also really robust discussion. And you're going to see some more social media events.
Thank you, Emily, because that was just that's a really good example of events that are not only available to members only, but are also free. So there are many benefits throughout the year for WGR members. I have not seen any other questions in the chat box, so I'm going to pause for just a moment in case there are any last-minute questions that come to mind. We will have another opportunity for questions after our job coach, Jan Fox, speaks, so that if you think of a question between now and the next 10 or 15 minutes, please feel free to ask. So without further ado, I am very excited to get to our special guest, Jan Fox. And as Emily said, Jan Fox is one of 5 job coaches, career coaches, who have agreed to make themselves available to WGR members. And as a member of WGR, you can have one free consultation with any one of our 5 job coaches. And then if you want to continue that professional relationship, WGR members would receive discounts and other considerations. But with that in mind, I am really excited to hear Jan Fox's top 20 talk tips and how it can add punch and panache to my communications. So thank you very much, Jan, and we'll turn it over to you.
That sounds just great. Laura, let me ask a technical question. Am I ready to click away?
You should be, yes.
I should be, okay. So then let me ask you a question. Oh, I don't get the click, Laura, so maybe you get to do it for me. Oh,
Okay.
here it is. Yes, it is. I want to talk to you about how to sharpen your speakability, and I'm going to try to do it with just 20 talk tips, as they mentioned. But the first question I have for you is, what are you doing right now? You've heard me speak for exactly 5 seconds, and I bet you're already trying to decide if you can listen to me for another 10 minutes. So that is my tip number 1. Know that your audience is doing that to you too, so you have to grab them right away. I think that you are playing Judge Judy. I think that you're trying to decide, and in the first 30 seconds, your audience is doing that too. You're asking about my credentials. Would this voice drive you nuts? Am I standing up straight? I'm sitting up straight. And then the big question, can you learn anything from somebody with this hair color? I hope so. So if you know your audience is doing that to you too, the first thing you do is get whacked out. So my tip number 2 is don't get nervous and anxious about the fact that the audience is looking at you very quickly and making a decision, but get ready. Be prepared. Get them to go and get them excited right away. Then number 3, the number one way to grow your business, or the number one way to get a bonus, or the number one way to go up in your organization is to speak better. To add value, you have to speak better. So that's something to keep in mind all the time. So I'm going to not talk to you about what to talk about, because you all know far more than I will ever know in a million years about government relations. But I'm going to talk to you about how to speak. So the first thing you do is pay attention to your visual rhythm. When you're speaking in front of an audience, you can't always determine ahead of time exactly what that room will look like, but you can determine what they will see you do, not just hear you do. And number 6, here's why. Researchers say that body language is 55% of your likability factor. So they not only need to hear your words, but they need to hear your body, see your body, follow your words, or augment your words. Then number 7 is you have to get out of the speaker barrel. Sometimes as speakers or non-speakers, when we have to speak, we get nervous. So we put ourselves in a little tiny circle on the floor. We don't move very much, and we're set apart from our audience. But if you get outside of that speaker barrel, you're just one with your audience sharing what you know. And it makes you a lot less nervous. So what I say is get out. Set yourself free. Be with that audience. In fact, number 8 is embrace your audience. Some of them might have even paid to come hear you speak, or some of them really want to be there, and they want to know what you have to tell them. So make sure you embrace them and thank them for their attention. Then number 9, your posture. Now, I just said the P word, so you all sat up straight right away, didn't you? And look what happens. Instead of looking lazy and messy, you look confident, professional, ready to go. And here's a bonus. If you stand up straight when you're speaking, you automatically lose 5 pounds. I, for one, like that a lot. So number 10 is the only thing you have to do to get better posture is just lift a ½ inch. So I suppose you're sitting down, so just kind of sit up straight, and then just lift your shoulders a ½ inch and see what happens. Now lift them 2 inches. I guarantee you, if I could ask you right now, you would say that you felt more power and you felt more confidence come into your body just with that little lift. And if you look more confident and if you look more powerful, your audience responds appropriately. Here's the biggest question I get, or the biggest concern I get too. People say, I don't want to speak in public because I don't know what to do with my hands. What do I do with my hands? You simply let them follow your words. See this couple shaking hands? When they let go of that handshake, their hand is in the perfect position to use as a gesture. Number 12, here's what you never want to do. This is not a political statement. I just happened to find this picture. Both of them are standing in the classic fig leaf position. And where are your eyes going on that picture right now? Exactly. So we don't ever want anybody's eyes going there. So don't let us ourselves get caught in that position. Number 13, we sometimes see speakers talk with their hands clasped behind their back. I call it speaker prison because if you clasp your hands behind your back right now, it's really hard to get them out. So they stand the whole time just like that, and they look like they're in prison and we're bored. And then ladies, if you know any guys who speak with their hands in their pockets, you have my permission to tell them that it is absolutely not cool. Then number 14, we don't want to go to opera hands either. because if we get stuck there, it's hard to get loose. And it looks too formal for almost any kind of presentation you and I could be making in front of any audience. So don't let them go there. And then number 15, here's the belly button warmer. I don't know why somebody would put hands in front of the belly button other than to try to keep it warm. Maybe that's appropriate today, but not when you're speaking. And then here's what else they do. They make those hands go like a little Venus flytrap. And it goes back and forth. One goes one way, one goes the other way, back and forth. And instead of inspiring us, they're hypnotizing us with that pattern. So don't get caught with the belly button warmer. And then number 16. We all know we have to have eye contact, but what have you been told about it? Some people have been told to just look at a dot on the black wall. So are you making any contact with anybody in the room? And then others have been told to just hover above their heads. Well, if the hovercraft doesn't land, you're not making contact with the windows of the soul. So I say, look at Angelina Jolie's eyeballs. She has the most intense eye contact on magazine covers that I've ever seen. So I say, if you want to make really great eye contact, you look right in the black eyeball dots of the person you're speaking to. And here's a bonus. If I look in the black eyeball dots when somebody else is speaking to me, I actually remember a lot more of what they say. So with hair my color, I'm grateful when I remember even an ounce more. Eye contact also comes in a face-to-face position, meaning if you're very tall, you don't want to be seen looking down your nose at someone shorter than you. And if you're short, you don't want to be seen looking up at somebody in kind of a submissive or shy position. So somehow just turn your faces so that your face to the other person's face, just so they're equal or that they are parallel. And that way you get really great eye contact. And the number one thing you don't want to do is try to imagine that audience in their underwear. Have you been told to do that? That is not a pretty sight. Now, you all might be a pretty sight, but in most cases it's not. So don't even think about going there. Look at those black eyeball dots. And then number 17 is your voice. See that middle line? That's probably what you're thinking my voice is right now. But most people who are monotone just have exactly the same tone all the way through without very much passion. And we go to sleep on them. But see the top line going up? These are the people who start down here. And then they end their sentences up like this. And then they start another sentence. And then they end them up like this, as if it's always a question. I always feel like they're looking for some kind of approval from me, like I need to pat them on the head and say it's okay. But here's what's worse. I was working with a guy who spoke very well at the beginning of his sentences, and then he went, and I couldn't understand the end of his sentences. I thought it was just like a little shoe drooler. And so I told him to throw the end of his sentence, throw that voice to the back wall. So a few weeks after working with him, I get a call. Hi, Foxy. I'm going to ask Janet. What? I'm going to ask Janet. I said, look, Kevin, throw that voice all the way to the back wall and let me hear the end of that sentence. And he said, I'm going to ask Janet to marry me. I said, well, she of all times needs to hear the end of that sentence. I don't know exactly what he did, but they're married, they're having a baby, so he must have stopped shoe drooling. And then here I am at the bottom. You see that little line going up, and then it goes down. That's me. I go up a little bit, and then I go down a little bit. I go up a little bit, and I go down a little bit. And I have to work very hard not to stay in a pattern of that, or I turn into monotone too. All of these lines actually turn into monotone. So what can we do? We vary our volume. We get high. You can say, I am so excited to tell you about something today. And then in a whisper, with your voice in it, you can say, and here's the most important point I want to make. So you have that much range in your volume to use in a talk. And almost in any talk you give, even if you're standing in front of the boss in an office, if you're walking down the hall to my family room to speak to my hubby with a remote control in his hand while the Patriots are on, I have to really vary my volume. I have to go up and I have to go down at very appropriate places in order to make sure he listens through my whole spiel. And then here's another way to have voice variation. You can speak fast like I'm speaking right now, or you can also slow way down. It's appropriate to say, this is very important. This is an important point I want to make. You elongate your words and you slow way down to make those important points. But you don't want to do it all the time because you sound like the slow boat to China, and it's the people who speak like, well, I'm thinking about, I want to, well, we interrupt them, and then what do they say? Let me finish. And then you're stuck till they finish their slow boat to China trip. So it's good to have both of these in a talk, but not either one of them through the whole talk. You want variation. Now this is going to sound mean, but I also want you to shut your mouth. Just shut your mouth. And here's why. If you and if you your way through a talk, researchers say that your audiences will think you are less intelligent than you really are. And we don't want that. They also think that we didn't prepare for them, and that's a personal affront. We want every audience to believe we put everything into the preparation for them. So here's how to stop the ums. You know it's coming when you're trying to think of what you're going to say next. So shut your mouth during that period. And then put your hand on your chest, kind of up on that bone, kind of the bone that goes across the top of your chest. And you can hear the you can feel it to start right there. So you have two chances to shut your mouth and not let an come out. One is when you're trying to think about what you're going to say, just shut it, because the can't come out if it's shut. And then feel your chest, and if you feel the start, just shut it really fast. And you can practice this. If you practice this for 3 or 4 days, in fact, in your next telephone call, if you practice it, by 3 or 4 days, you'll be finished with it. An ummer who was so bad that he before his sentence, after a sentence, in between that and the next and started his next sentence, he's now on the PGA Speakers Bureau list because he licked this in exactly 3 days. You can too if you do this. Then number 19, no matter what you do, you have to make them feel. You can't leave a talk without somebody feeling something. What I want you to feel today is that no matter where you are in your speaking, if you do just a few things, you can become even more impactful. And when you have that feeling that you're being impactful, you know that you have arrived as a speaker. And then number 20 is the #1 place where you can make people feel is with your stories. And you can use any one of these topics as a story. If you're working with a client and you're trying to sell them something, the #1 thing that they respond to is a story about another client you had who was failing, and with a little work, they're now succeeding. What do they want to do at the end of that conversation, at the end of that story? They want to sign on the dotted line. And finally, if you will send me to jan@foxtalks.com your email, your snail mail, not your email address, but your email address, but your snail mail address, then I will send you a Speak Tweaks book. And it's a tiny little book, but it has a lot of practice plans in it that will show you how to practice what I've talked about today. And then you have to promise with all your heart that you'll do the practice plans for 21 days in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope this was helpful. Back to you, Laura.
Jan, this is Lucy. Thank you so much. I got a lot out of those top 20 talk tips, and we have another opportunity for Q&A. And while people are using their chat box to do that, actually, I have a question.
Okay.
Jan, in our town and in our profession, sometimes we need to be prepared to interrupt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what are some techniques or ways to approach interrupting or making sure that that our voice is heard in a conversation where sometimes the loudest voices are most easily heard? How can
They sure are.
Yeah.
I have a couple of ideas for you. You know, I've been standing on street corners for the last 20 years here in D.C., and there's no place where people like to talk more than in D.C. So I had to train myself to listen for the inhale. As soon as they inhaled, I started. And I sort of was listening for every sentence for a place that I could respond to something that they've already said. and just move the conversation along. So they inhale, and then I just jump in to say something like, as exactly what you were saying is what we do here at the blah, blah, blah. See how it just leads the conversation forward, and they don't even know they've been interrupted. Other times I have to politely say, we have just another minute, so let me thank you for your comment and your question, and let's move on. Anybody else? I just do it as bluntly as that, but with a big smile on my face, nodding them, thanking for their input or for their question, and then moving on to the next person. And then there's one more, and that is if there's a small group, not a big group, but if there's a small group, and someone is talking for a long period of time, and I'm standing at the beginning, at the front of the audience, I just put my head down for a minute, and I just like a little bow of the head, and I can't tell you how many times I've had people wrap up where they were just because I did that little motion. Does that help?
That's fantastic, Jan. Thank you. I just know there are other questions out there because I'm sure, I mean, we've heard 20 talk tips, and then thank you, Jan, for answering my question. That was like 22, 23, and 24. What other questions are out there? This is your time. This is the time that belongs to everybody on the webinar. We've got me, Emily, Laura, and Jan Fox on the phone. Maximize your takeaways from your time with us today, and let us know what's on your mind.
Lucy, I will answer one that they haven't asked, but it's one that I'm asked all the time, and that is, well, won't I sound ridiculous if I stop to shut my mouth while I'm talking? And it sounds like this. I told that gentleman to go home and speak to his wife like this, and it is, Linda, I'm working with Jan, shut my mouth, I'm working with Jan, and she says I have to shut my mouth in between my sentences, and sooner or later I'll quit my ums. And so it sounds like that for a little while. It sounds kind of staccato, but if you're an ummer at the end of the sentence, you can get through a whole sentence. Hi, it's so great to see you here today. And then shut your mouth for a second. It's very normal for us to pause. What's not normal is for us to say or so that it distracts our audience. So it can be practiced, but you might sound a little funky for a minute or two.
Thank you, Jan.
Lucy, we have a couple questions here. Looks like Monica asked, do most of those that serve on committees and on the board have the flexibility of working on WGR work during the normal workday? And how do you balance your WGR tasks with your everyday work responsibilities?
Good question.
That's a really good question. I'll jump in real quick and just say that I'm very fortunate in that my employer is aware of the value that WGR brings to our organization by virtue of the network established, especially with the task force I'm most involved with, and also my employer values the leadership role that I play on the board and with the organization, because that's, it's leadership development, it's visibility, so I'm very fortunate. My employer does support that. On the other hand, there are times when work priorities just have to take precedence, and I've just learned how to prioritize and how to balance that. But absolutely everything about my membership and involvement and activity with WGR is, professional development from my perspective, and is part of my expression of my profession.
Okay. Linda asked, what is the password that I gave? And that password is, it's just the word password 1 with a capital P and the number 1 at the end. And that's on when you log into the website. If you look at the little text above the login page, it's right there as well. Claire asked, she came in a little late and wanted to know if we would have a recording of this presentation, and we will have a recording. So we'll get information to you on how to view that. Looks like William wanted to give a suggestion on when you attend a WGR event. He said before beginning the presentation, try to meet some of the attendees as they come into the room and find their seat. It helps to warm your voice and introduces you to some of your audience. It might also provide information that could be used in the presentation and makes it more relevant. Let's see. Alicia asked for Jan's address, and that is up on the presentation right now. That's all our contact information, email address. So if you think of any questions later, you can email any of us and ask.
Laura, could you just read Jan's email address out loud? Because of the, even on my screen, the font color makes it a little hard to read.
Of course. It's jan@foxtalks.com. So that's JAN at FOXTALKS.com.
Are there any other questions, Laura?
Nope, that looks like all we have right now.
Okay. Well, it looks like we have honored almost to the nanosecond the time commitment that that we provided for everybody. We've hit our 45-minute level, but again, you have everybody's contact information. You can call or email any member of the WGR staff, and we would love to see much more of you in December and in 2015. Emily, Laura, Jan, any final comments?
No, just thank you for attending.
I would say speak up, speak out, speak often.
Perfect.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for being on the webinar with us.
Thank you.